Hello, my name is Isha Patel, and I'm a sophomore here at studying health management. I'm standing right in front of the Berg Hall. Honestly, the idea of being defined by one test score never really sat with me because one test score does not define me. So, SLU's test optional policy is what attracted me here to SLU because SLU looked at my GPA, my extracurricular activities, my volunteer services, projects that I've done in high school, and that's what truly defines me and what matters to me. Some of my friends did submit their test scores and some didn't. But at the end of the day, we came to a place that cares about the whole person. How do you feel about SLU's test optional policy?
Hi, my name is Anish. I'm an advanced sciences major with a finance minor. Right now, I'm studying outside the Science and Engineering Center. There you'll find all students working on organic chemistry, robotics, and there I'm really passionate about research and enjoying and learning with the community. When I applied to SLU, I had a very strong GPA and had many extracurriculars that related to being at the SSE. But really, I didn't have the strong test scores when applying. So I'm really happy that SLU has a no test policy where I can be able to apply without my test scores and be able to participate in fun research.
How do you feel about SLU's test optional policy?
Hi, I'm Ian, a forensic science major, studying from high school library, and my go-to study spots on campus. In my first year here, this place helped me to manage my time, focus on my goals, and lead into the challenges of becoming a future healthcare professional. I've trained as an EMT and volunteered in emergency situations, which have taught me to handle high-pressure situations and pushed me to realize that I want to be a part of the science behind solving real-world problems. However, I chose to apply to SLU without submitting my test scores. Because of SLU's test optional policy, my solid GPA, and experiences, I felt more like a person when I was applying here. And now I'm here studying what I love with people who push me to do better every single day.
How do you feel about SLU's test optional policy?
Hi, I'm Ryan, health management major and an international student. I'm at the Simon Rec Center, my go-to place to stay active, unwind, and connect with friends. Coming from a different education system, my test scores didn't really reflect what I was really capable of. I was nervous because schools in the US might not understand my background or experiences, but with SLU's test optional policy, I didn't have to worry about that. They took time to look at the full picture, my goals, my leadership experiences, and how I'd contribute to the campus community. It wasn't just about a policy, it was about a mindset. And that mindset made me feel like I had a fair shot.
How do you feel about SLU's test optional policy?
Hi, I'm Nate. I'm in computer engineering. And right now I'm at Couple's House, my favorite place to think, recharge, and find inspiration for new coding projects. I did submit my test scores when I applied to SLU, but what stood out to me was the application wasn't about that. I was still able to highlight the apps I built in college, the projects I've worked on, and how I taught myself how to code. SLU looks at everything, not just the number. The test optional policy made it feel like submitting scores was an option, not the only option. And that flexibility is what gave me confidence when I applied.
What surprised you the most about being a student here at SLU?
Hi, I'm Gara. I'm an international student from India majoring in health sciences. I'm standing right next to Graham, one of SLU's newest residence halls. And right behind me is the Dolphin Fountain, a very relaxing place. Just like the support I found here at SLU. I found that when I was applying to schools, my tests weren't the best representation of who I was. But thanks to SLU's optional test policy, they were able to look at more than just my strengths. They were able to look at my healthcare experiences, my academic growth, and who I am as a person. They saw more than a number. They saw me. And that's what drew me to SLU.
Hi, why does this place mean something special to you?
Hi, I'm Mahi. I'm a public health major with a bio minor. I'm standing near the famous chess piece by Morris C. Hall, with one of SLU's most recognizable landmarks. I love it here because it reminds me of balance. Just like a chessboard, college requires strategy, creativity, and focus. When I applied, I felt like my test scores didn't reflect my passion for healthcare. SLU's test optional policy let me focus on leadership and community work, and that's what helped me stand out.
Dr. Cyberg, how do you feel about SLU's test optional policy?
I'm very pleased with SLU's decision to go test optional. By the way, my background, faculty, health management and policy for 14 years. Prior to that, I ran hospitals all across the country for 22 years. My opinion on test optional. Standardized tests, in my opinion, is not an accurate way of measuring a student's ability to be successful in any academic institution, to include St. Louis University. Influencing standardized tests are people's backgrounds, their life experiences, their culture. SLU very, very much supports bringing cultural diversity into this university. I think counter to that is using standardized tests, because they don't factor in responding to a standardized test. They do not take into consideration the backgrounds of our students, which is so important and in many ways contributes to their success.
That's why we all chose SLU.